मैं भी कर लूँ
ज्वाइन कर ले पहने क्या करने से बुखार में कराया जा रहा है मेरे से।
मैं तो मना कर दूँ आप ही ले लो।
तू कहाँ छुट्टी करा रहा है? तू बोलना इन्हें की छुट्टी कर लो। तू बोल इन्हें तू छुट्टी कर लो, बोल देगा।
मैं उनको छुट्टी बोल लूँ आज छुट्टी सर की तबीयत खराब है, आज छुट्टी है।
Hi Ravi, hi Sanjana, hi Fatima, hi Rahul. Ravi, where have you been, my friend? We have been missing you since last 2 days. What is this? Come on. That's not good, Ravi. You're not serious about me? Hey Sanjana, why can't I see you? Hey Fatima, I can't see you guys.
So I'm having a bit of issue with camera today.
Oh. Okay. Fatima, here comes my friend. How are you doing? How is the prep going, buddy?
Yes, sir, all going good.
Cool. Did you guys manage to see the revision sessions, the prior, as in day 1 and day 2? Did you guys manage to see that?
Yes, sir.
Fair enough. Anything that anyone would want to ask before we really move on and get into the day 3, get into what we want to cover today from the pre-scene material perspective? Sorry for being late, I have not been keeping well these days, so I had to push by a couple of hours. Anything that anyone would want to ask, anything in relation to what we have covered so far? Ravi, anything that is troubling you, bhai?
No.
Fatima, ma'am, anything, ma'am, is that is troubling you?
I don't know, sir. Just going with this flow.
Yeah. Fair enough. Ravi, you have given the second mock. I saw the first mock. I reverted onto it. Have you given the second one?
Yeah.
Fair enough. I'll take like couple of days to revert back on that. I have to get back on track from my health perspective. Sanjana, have you given the second mock, my friend?
Yes, sir. I submitted yesterday.
Good, very good. That is on a charitable organization. I'm sure that should give you some kind of a feeler in terms of what we have in store today, which is to again deal with the charitable organization. Anything troubling you, Sanjana? All good? Should we move ahead? Any doubts? Anything?
I was struggling with one of the questions with the second mock that we have.
Oh, well, let's park the mock. Let's park it for now. We'll have a mock discussion any which way separately.
Alright then.
I do want to have one session once we have done with all of these 3 days. I do want to have one session together wherein we'll discuss out few things that I want to talk on with. We'll be coming on that. I'll confirm you the day and time. We'll be coming on to that discussion very soon. So we'll take it there, Sanjana. The doubt that you had in the mock, we'll take it there. Alright, so without wasting any time, guys, I think it's time to kickstart the day 3 of what we have in store today from the standpoint of covering the pre-scene material for March 2025 attempt. Alright, welcome guys, welcome to the day 3, welcome to the session 3 of Strategic Business Leader Grand Revision for the March 2025 attempt. What we have in store today is of course the discussion that we wanted to have on the pre-scene material. The pre-scene material this time in the March 2025 attempt, the way it has come up, I think it is a very, very simple and straightforward material the way I see it. I haven't seen any kind of or any specific issue being highlighted in any shape or format when it comes to the pre-scene material for this attempt. It's a very plain vanilla pre-scene material the way I see it. Of course, the company that we're really talking about is a charitable organization that effectively should push you to think various things in a different way, and that's what we'll be trying to get on to and discuss on as we really go forward. So without spending too much time on that, let's just jump in and probably have a look in terms of what we really have in over here from the PPT standpoint. What I've done is I've created a deck out of the pre-scene material that ACCA has issued. We would be sharing this deck with all of you, so you would be receiving this deck very soon. This deck basically I would say conceptuates or captures each and every aspect of the pre-scene material, and once you have done through this deck, then probably you're free to go and read the pre-scene material. So I've been saying that right from the start, that please do not read the pre-scene material unless we have done this session, because once we have done it, and then when you would read the pre-scene material, it'll be your life become much more easier, because then you would be able to have a one, of course, conceptuate what is being said over there, and then probably you'll start questioning yourself in terms of the areas that we would be discussing out today. All right, so moving on, the case that has been thrown on to us from the March 2025 perspective is a case of HP, which is Historical Places, which is a charity company in the country Rhodesia. Okay, I get that. The mission is to preserve the historical sites in the country. So we are talking about a charitable organization, and that charitable organization is into preservance of various historical buildings across the country, that is Rhodesia. Okay, fair enough. I get the perspective. I'm getting the the heat of it. Okay, the overview of a charitable sector that is being given. So generally, what happens out here, and Ravi, this is to circle back in terms of how the pre-scene material really unfolds for yourself. What we generally have in the pre-scene material is that on one side, they always gives me the industry, and then on the other hand, they gives me the information about the company. So the first discussion that we needed to have, and that's how our presentations would also flow in out here. The first discussions that we would have would be on the industry per se, as to how the charitable industry in the Rhodesia is all about. And then the second discussion that we would have would be on the company per se, would be on the HP per se, Historical Places per se. That is gonna be the case in the exam, because the kind of questions that you would get, or the kind of exhibits that you would have in the exam, would be in relation to HP. So we would have the industry knowledge, which is like country's knowledge or the industry knowledge in our head. We'll have the general knowledge of historical places in our head, and then we would have some specific exhibits in the exam that would be talking about HP, and then we have to deal with the situations over there at that point in time. That's what we'll be we'll be foreseeing, and when we are doing all of this, we'll be talking on various areas or various important things that you really need to keep in mind when it comes to a company like this. Does that sound like a plan, Renuka? Rahul, you promised me that you'll be joining me on Sunday with camera loud open. I'm still not able to see you. See, I've not forgotten you, but my friend. Now you can't tell me that it's an office on Sunday, right? All right, moving on to the overview of the charitable sector. Let's go and jump it out. The charities promote social welfare and the public interest. I think it goes without saying. We all very well understand that. That's the real basic. The activities that are being mentioned out here, they effectively includes some of the, and again, this is not an exhaustive list kind of thing, but it is more to do with the charitable sector per se, in terms of the activities that charitable organizations generally do. They're helping the sick and the disabled, of course. They are helping the relief, providing the relief to the I would say the poor, and providing the education to them. They're preserving the history, and we are into it. Our company that is there in the question is into it. The campaigning on the social issues, again, something that can be done in case you want to help someone. And then, of course, there can be various other causes too. But the causes that are being given in the pre-scene material, the industry that really revolves around in the pre-scene material is primarily on these areas. They raise fund through donations, and commercial activities, because one of the major aim of these charitable organizations is to help. And now in order to help, they have to generate some streams of revenue, and for them the only stream of revenue is nothing but the donation and the kind of commercial activities that these folks do. So if you really go on, and I'm just making it up, if you really go on and visit any historical place, let's say you go and see Taj Mahal for that matter, the government of Uttar Pradesh would have installed certain stalls within the premises, and they'll be selling something. Now all of those commercial activities also generate revenue for the government out there, because they effectively are earning money for, from doing those charitable activities. Over here, and it is very different than the Indian scenario. In the Indian scenario, you would not find many companies per se, having an agenda of saving historical places on the not-for-profit, in a not-for-profit way, or in a charitable way. We do, generally this work in India is being done by government, not by companies. Of course, there would be some, but not like it's not something very common. But if you really go on to the west side of it, whether it is Europe, whether it is US, and so on and so forth, over there you would find many companies really getting into it, and companies really having that kind of an agenda that they would only do this. They generate money through their own sources, because they have like rightful trustees onto their board, and they are so much I would say connected in the market that they are able to generate the funds for a purpose, and that funds then is being used for the purpose that is being crafted and drafted for that particular company. Like in this case, the kind of I would say agenda that the company has is to save the historical places, and of course the company is being formed to do that, and so on and so forth. All right, there is fund through donation and commercial activities. Donation is of course the prime one by which they can generate funds, and commercial activities is the secondary one. Of course they can have their t-shirts, they can have their pens, they can have their cups, they can have the memento, and so on and so forth, of that historical place, and that is being sold, and of course you earn revenue out of the same. All right, charitable sector consists of various national charities, the large national charities, and smaller local charities. It's just the basic information that is being given to us from the perspective of knowing the industry at large. All right, we get that. Now comes the legal position of the charity, in terms of the legal status of a charity. What kind of legal status these charities have in the country? And of course, we really have to now go and step into the shoe of that country, in terms of what that country is all about, what is the law of that country, what is really happening in that country, and so on and so forth. And this is where the understanding of legal position is going to be important, because once we'll understand the overall dimensions of that country, we probably would be able to appreciate that what kind of laws are there. And then when we will step into the exam room discussing about the company that is there in the question, we probably would be able to understand that yes, country has this kind of a law, this kind of a legal structure, and where does we fit in, and what kind of lacunas or pluses or minuses, as the case may be, we might get exposed to. Charity in Eurasia are often structured as company limited by guarantee. Now this is something new, right? I'm sure many of you may not be aware, but companies limited by guarantee means that effectively there are guarantors to that particular company, who says that if company is not able to meet their obligation or debt, then these guarantors will step in and they'll contribute the fund, of course the pre-agreed fund, and pay those debts as the case may be. So it's a different way of structuring, the way we have like partnership firms, companies, C corporations, S corporations, and other corporations, and so on and so forth. In this way, we have a company which is being limited by guarantee, and this is very peculiar to country which is being mentioned out here, which is Eurasia, that is there in our question. So we probably have to take it and understand it as to what that is. Now these companies have no shares or shareholders, so there are no shares. Of course, this is a charitable organizations, so they may not have shares. They may have some members or non-members. We'll touch upon that. And of course, they're underwritten by guarantors who covers the debt only in case of insolvency. Only in case of insolvency. So they're effectively saying that management of day-to-day affairs of the company, the way they have to do and have to manage, is the responsibility of company at large. They have to manage the show on the entirety basis. But what is being said is that the guarantors are underwriting that in case of insolvency, in case insolvency happens, then of course guarantor will come in and they would help in terms of contributing in case of insolvency per se. Reinvest the surpluses into the charity instead of distributing them to the guarantors. So guarantors effectively are not getting anything. They are more like the ones who want charity to happen. They do not want any money in turn or in return. So what they're saying is that we do not need any kind of a distribution. Please reinvest any kind of surplus that you're able to generate over the expenses back to the charity. We're happy with that. But in case any insolvency happens, then guarantors are standing over there to manage the show any which ways. All right, we get that. We get the perspective in terms of what this company is going to be all about. All right, its charitable activities are guided by its governing documents, so-called constitution of the company. So every company has a constitution, and that constitution would be governing the overall operations and of course helping them do the various activities that they are supposed to be doing. Many charities fundraise through commercial activities such as running shops, as I just mentioned. If you really walk into any kind of old time monument anywhere in India or elsewhere in the world, you would also find some kind of commercial shops running on the side. That can be a shop that is offering you a snack, something to eat, something to drink, or that can be an organization or a company that is offering different kind of mementos or different kind of gifts that people generally carry as a memory of that visit that they have done to that particular place. If that is the case, there is a income element that is being attributed to all such sales that happens. Of course, that is also being considered as one of the commercial activities of the organization, which is into the charity, and this is one of the mode of earning revenue from there. All right. Then commercial activities are conducted via subsidiary companies wholly owned by charity. So charity is not doing that, but they form the subsidiary company and they in turn get into having the commercial activities done to generate this revenue per se. If we really talk on the regulation side of it, now you probably would start having a sketch in your mind in terms of what we are trying to build out here. We're trying to say that yes, this is the country. This is what is happening in the country from the charitable organization side. This is how the charitable organization in a country is being structured. This is kind of a legal status that the company has. This is the kind of revenues that the company would have, and this is how they are being structured. Now we are moving on to what kind of regulation the country has as far as the charity is concerned. Charity in Indonesia is regulated by CSB. They call it to be Charity Supervision Board. Okay. Supervisory board, okay, established by central government of the country. Okay, the CSB's role, what is the role of this kind of an organization? They have to ensure that there is a public confidence in how the donations are being used. Very important, guys, and this is gonna be one of the risks that I'm sure you might get exposed to, because many of the times these charitable organizations are under the lens that the donation that they're getting, is it being utilized for the purpose it is being supposed to? And classical example it's a real-time example that is happening right now at this point in time, wherein President Trump have come up and have said that donations that have been given up by US aid, US aid is the common way of flowing money into various countries, wherein they're helping various countries carry on various charitable objectives. What Trump has now come up is that the contribution that has happened to India through US aid has not been utilized for the purpose it was directed for. It has been utilized for various political purposes. Now, if something like this happens, who would believe on US aid? Who would have a trust on US aid for the purpose of contributing to the US aid as a agenda? Who would have that trust? You lose that trust. And that is where one thing that you really have to have in your mind when you're sitting out in the exam is that one big agenda that you have is to ensure that the money that is being given to HP is utilized for the purpose, is utilized for the constitution, is being utilized for the rightful reason. It is not being siphoned for any particular purpose. Many of these charitable organizations are being used that way. And I can give you a classical example. I used to audit one of the charitable organizations long back, and there were trustees of that charitable organization, and what they did was that they had their own service provider. So for example, it was a charitable organization that was into helping the girl child, and then this organization used to get money from like big shots people in India, outside India, and then they were using money for various programs that they were doing for the girl child. Now what happened in the whole set of affairs was that the trustee, they had their own suppliers. So let's say these girls have to be given some basic, I would say, need stuff that they really needed to have, or they have to give some rental accommodation, or they have to be given some kind of security, and so on and so forth. So these trustees, they really opened up their own service providers, and these service providers were in turn giving these services to the charitable organization. So imagine the case wherein the money was coming, it was going, a trustee cannot withdraw anything because trustee has generally not paid. So effectively they were not getting paid directly, but they had their own service organizations who were helping, and then of course money was being siphoned out there. All of these things are very common, guys. Be very concerned when it comes to risks like that. You have to be on your front foot. Another example that I have for you is that many of the times these charitable organizations are being used for converting the black money into the white. Very common, I can tell you, because they can accept donation from anyone, right? So the donation really gets in, and when the donation really gets in, they ultimately the charitable organizations are getting the money, and since there are many tax benefits that are being provided to the people who are contributing, they would get the tax benefit, and then this money ultimately goes on and sits on for a purpose which may or may not be used, and then it will ultimately come back as, like, converted money back to them in some shape or format through the service provider or through the trustee or through any employee, and so on and so forth. So they play around with these kind of things. Very important, guys, that we are aware of it, that money is going to be the super important thing in terms of how it is being flowing for any charitable organization. I don't know if you get to see a question like this on on this ground, but I can tell you this is one of the most important area that you have to ensure. The CSB role is to ensure that there is a public confidence in how the donations are being used. I can tell you the entire faith on US aid has gone for a toss. Nobody wants to contribute now to US aid, and of course US aid will not come to India, and of course for whatever reason I'm just assuming that, let's say 30% of things were going wrong, but 70% of things were going right for the right people in the right way. The 70% of that is also not taking a beating because the donations will be stopped now. There is nothing that will come up, and so on and so forth. So very important that confidence is not shaken, and there in this case media also plays a big role. So one of the stakeholder for you would be certainly media when it comes to the HP, as the case in the exam. Do not forget that. All right, sir, we get that, sir. Then the second role that they have is investigating charities for any kind of misconduct, misuse of the funds, or regulatory breaches that really come their way. It is very important that if they are able to understand that and of course capture that in the best possible way. Charity accounts must follow the statement of recommended practice. They call it to be SORP, sort of an accounting standard, I would say, issued by CSB. Okay, it's good to see something like this really coming their way. All charity accounts must be audited. I love this. Of course, the audit has to happen. Okay, larger charities with income over $10 million, okay, must report on internal control and risk management and external auditor reviews. Okay, so we get that. I'm consuming this information more than $10 million. Everyone has to report on the internal control, risk management, and external auditor reviews. Yes, sir, we get that. That's really getting in, sir. We know that. Charities and their wholly owned commercial subsidiaries are exempted from taxation in Rhodesia. This is a bigger one, guys. We should know this, that ultimately they are tax free, and that's where big time frauds can happen out there. So it is very important that we have stringent internal controls, smart ways of capturing who we are getting donation from, smart ways of ensuring that money is being utilized the way it should be, smart ways of capturing the right information when it comes to the accounting, smart way of ensuring that the rightful audit is being done, stronger processes to ensure that all of these risks are being monitored and captured to the lowest extent possible, and so on and so forth. Very important, guys, that you are not missing on to that. Very basic, but when it comes to the charitable organization, forget about profit. Profit is not important out here. Two things that are super important out here is that what you are getting as donation is being spent for the rightful purpose. That is one. Two, you are ensuring that you have strong internal control to have the check and balances on who you are getting donation from, who you are spending that on with, and what you are doing come what may. You have to ensure that everything is being done as per the constitution of the organization, as per the guidelines of CSB, the Charity Supervisory Board. Do not forget that. Are you with me, Fatima, Ravi, Arvinder, Rahul, with me on this? Any doubt? Are you getting what I'm saying?
Yeah.
All right, moving on. The heritage sub-sector. Let's go and read this out. Many charities in Rhodesia focus on preserving the country's heritage at urban and rural sites. Very common. Heritage includes historical and cultural assets worth preserving. Of course, we understand that. Heritage charities includes what? Conserve and maintain historical site. We never understand that. Allow public admissions to these sites. Okay. Promote public appreciation of the heritage of the country. Okay. Promote education, provide education, hosting school and students event. Yes, that's very common for these companies. Offer trainees in conservation and related activities. The major heritage charities in Rhodesia. Now he's saying there are two companies. Number one, Historic Places, which is our company that is there in the question, called HP, which focuses on the sites that are over 300-year old. Over 300-year old sites are the ones which I will be taking care of. Okay, then another company is Living the Past, LTP. It maintains sites less than 300-year old. So I have effectively a monopoly, my friend, in terms of managing the sites which are more than 300-year old. But the moment I get to see something, something like this, one thing that should certainly come onto your mind is that I'm managing the sites which are more than 300-year old, which means that the maintenance cost would be very, very high, because these are like really old buildings. So the deterioration that is happening through climate, through nature, is gonna be assumed to be on a higher level, and that is how my maintenance cost should ideally be high. I'm just overthinking about this right now just by reading this. We'll unfold this as we really go forward. But what is really important, guys, that when you're reading something like this, these cross questioning should start coming onto your mind. Your mind should start capturing these kind of things, because yes, these are the areas that are very common if you hear something like this, if you see something like this from the examination perspective. Is that clear, guys? Is that something we get that? Yes, sir. Moving on. The heritage charities, significant stakeholders. Now, who are the significant stakeholders? We have trustees over there. Okay. Now, trustees oversee the charity activities. They ensure that the charity follows the objectives and constitution. Very basic. Got that, sir. Complies with the regulation. Got that, sir. Has effective control and risk management system. Okay. Is managed with honesty and integrity. Very basic thing, but this is something that trustees have to ensure, and that is the reason trustees are there for, right? They have to ensure that all of that is being taken care. Trustees helped develop the charity's strategic direction alongside the executive management. We'll see as to what the executive management is all about. They're accountable to charities supporter, they're accountable to charities supervisory board, CSB, they're accountable to general public. Trustees are unpaid. Do not forget this. I have highlighted that trustees are unpaid and receive no employment benefit. These trustees are like the veterans, my friend, from the industry. They do not just work for the money. That is the reason they are unpaid, because they're doing it for a purpose. They're doing it by their own heart and soul into it, that they want to contribute back to the society at large. Is that clear? Yes, sir. Now, another one, we have executive management. So, we have done trustees, my friend. That trustees are one of the stakeholders. Then you have executive management. Okay. Executive managers are employees responsible for managing the day-to-day operations. Now, since they are the normal employees, they would be getting the salary. Of course, they are dependent on the organization to earn money and, of course, give them back. They normally meet regularly as an executive board or the committee at large. Okay. And then there are other paid employees. Paid employees include head office administration staff, staff working full-time or part-time as the case may be. The normal working staffs, the normal function. And then they have the volunteers. Okay, volunteer carry out unpaid work and charity side in their spare time. Okay, they have no contractual obligation to keep volunteering. Now, something like this, if it has been said now, one thing that should certainly get onto your mind is that I am dependent on the volunteers. Am I too much dependent on the volunteers? If I'm dependent too much on the volunteers, then I may have a risk there, because these volunteers may or may not turn up, considering they are the volunteers and they're not being paid. So I need to be very cautious in terms of ensuring that how am I really balancing my paid worker and my unpaid worker, or my volunteers as the case may be. We have to see this in terms of what the question really unfolds for us. But when I'm reading this, those things should start cropping onto my mind, that yes, this can be one of the problem area. Is that clear? Yes, sir. Donors give money to the charities without expecting anything in the return. Donors may give one-off or on a regular basis. So I'm dependent on the donors. One thing that I should have it in my mind is that I have to ensure that donors keep giving me the money, and for that I have to ensure that my reputation, my reason for which a donor is contributing to me money is never defeated. The donor always have a confidence in me in terms of what I'm doing, the purpose for which I'm being installed. I'm really fulfilling that purpose. Donor should have that confidence, and that is the case gonna be. That would really help donor to come back again and contribute or keep contributing on the ongoing basis. But one thing that this should really bring back into my mind, or I would say crop up in my mind, is that, boss, I'm in a business of donation. Donation would only happen if I have some extra money. So this business somewhere is impacted by the country doing good. If there is a recession in the country, if there is a bad time in the country, that effectively means that my donations would go down. Who the hell wants to contribute, my friend, when they are struggling to get their bread and butter? No one, right? So I'm into that business wherein I'm dependent on the donors, their whims and fancies, and hence I'm always impacted by the country set of affairs in terms of how country is doing, how my donors are doing, how much they're making money, how open they are in terms of giving me money, and so on and so forth. Is that clear? Yes, sir. Moving on. Members. Now, who all are the members? Members pay either an annual fee or one-time life membership fee. Okay, there are two different kind of models. Membership privileges depend on charity activities, but typically include free admission to the sites operated by the charity. Okay, if I'm a member, I can simply walk to Taj Mahal without paying the admission fee. Okay, voting rights at the charity's annual general meeting. Okay, electing the trustees. Okay, I can elect the trustees. I can of course do the voting for people to be at the AGM. Members do not own the charity and are not liable for its debt. Of course, I'm not the one who will be liable to pay the debts of the organization any which ways. And then they have the non-member visitors. Non-member visitors pay an admission fee to access to these sites, and of course they since they're not member, they are not being given the free admission, but they can pay the fee and of course walk into that premises as the case may be. Very basic, but since I'm just trying to build the sketch around, I'm trying to paint my mind that yes, these are the things that I should be aware of as the case may be. Alright, then you have the guarantors. Guarantors pledge a certain amount to cover the charity debt if it becomes insolvent. Alright, so this is something I get that. So in case we become insolvent, then the guarantors will really get in. They are generally not involved in the charity activities. They just sit outside. They have guaranteed, and that is the case as that is what the case is. All right, then you have the CSB. We already covered that. CSB acts on the behalf of Eurasia government in overseeing the charities activities all across. And then you have the media. As I told you, right, media is going to be an important one as a stakeholder. The stories in the media can illustrate the good work the charity has been doing. However, media coverage can also be the source of bad publicity. For example, stories about charities wasting money. If this happens, HP, my friend, you will go for a toss. You will go for a toss, and that is how you really have to play very smartly in terms of what you're doing, and of course ensure that media is also being taken into confidence in whatsoever you're doing, so that you keep getting the positive publicity. Any negative one would certainly impact you, come what may. Now, what are my income? What are my sources of income? Charity may raise money in these several ways. Donations. Charity obtain donations through various methods, including what? Contacting the potential donor via post, email, or text messages. Okay. Encouraging donations from visitors at the historical sites. Advertising on TV and social media. Allowing online donation through websites. Charities retain donor contact details and target them in future fundraising campaign. Now, when I was thinking about the fundraising for an organization like HP, one thing that was really bothering me was that we are dealing with an organization that is into the, of course, that is there for a charitable purpose, but that is into the preservance of these historical monuments. Okay. But there are various other charities also, right? There are charities that are there to do with saving the girl child. There are charities for the earthquake, cyclone suffering people. Then there are charities being done for relief to poor people, charities being done for relief to old age people, and so on and so forth. And then you have a charity that is dealing with, preserving these monuments. Don't you think that I would somewhere have a competition with all of these charities too, right? Because let's say I'm a donor, right? And you being an HP, you contacted me that you are building or you are having a Taj Mahal and you want to preserve that and you should contribute. And then I receive an email from, let's say, XYZ, and that email says that this person has a cancer. Can you support in terms of his medical expenses, blah blah blah. Now, who do you think I'll be more inclined towards contributing? Maybe something like this, right? Maybe something to do with the medical emergency of a person or people at large, rather than the historical monuments. I'm more interested in terms of ensuring that my money has a direct impact in terms of the benefit that somebody would get, and so on and so forth. So in a way, I would also have a competition for, from all of the other charities. So when I was reading this in terms of the donations, in terms of the kind of source of revenue that I have, I was thinking about the risk factors in terms of what really come my way. One was, of course, country not doing good. Another was I not doing something good, leading to a bad name and hence donation not coming. The third thing was that I may have trouble. I may have trouble in terms of raising the money, considering that raising the money for this purpose itself is not easy, because I have competition from the other charities also. and so on and so forth. So those are the things, my friend, Fatima, Rahul, Arvinder, Ravi, those are the things that should automatically start creeping onto your mind, that where can things go wrong, where can I be in trouble, where can I where will my revenue go for a toss, and so on and so forth. So Renuka, the more you will think about something like this, the more you are able to get more pointers in the exam to write. Many times, Fatima, Sanjana, we all at times struggle, right, in terms of finding out the number of points that we need to mention. The more you would start thinking about these areas, the more pointers you would have to substantiate the examiner on various fronts, maybe on the risk front, maybe on the risk mitigation front, maybe on the future front, maybe on the future growth front, and so on and so forth. So the more you will be broadening your mind in terms of thinking through these areas, the more ideas will start getting onto your mind, which you can then structure according to the need of the question and put it out there. Does that resonate with you guys? Fatima, Sanjana, Arvinder, Rahul, Renuka, does this resonate with you? Ravi? I hope you guys are not sleeping. No sleeping, guys. I am not seeing the kind of power in your voice, right? It's Sunday morning. Is it because of that? You want to have a break for a cup of black coffee to make sure that you get the power back? Guys!
Yes, sir.
Yeah, now I can hear that. Ravi, where are we, my friend? Why are we so dull? It's just a matter of 10 more days, guys. Just a matter of 10 more days. If you can sail through these 10, 12 more days, SBL is gonna be history for you. You would have done what you needed to do out there. Come with me, bear me for some more days. I'm sure we'll be writing a very different history for yourself when it comes to the SBL exam. Does that sound like a plan, guys? You're not motivating me at all. Sanjana,
Yes, sir.
you're not motivating me now. Rahul, Puttar, all good? Renuka? Fatima?
Yes, sir.
समझ में आ रहा है ना फातिमा? पक्का ना?
Yeah.
All right, moving on. Let's get on to the kind of donations we have. Of course, we have covered that. Then we have the membership fees that really deals with the annual or one-off membership fee that the company might have. You have the admission fees, which is of course being charged to the non-members. If they really want to get admission to that particular premises, they would do that. Then comes the kind of commercial activities that organization would do. The commercial income sources of the charities includes what? The catering facilities at the site. So you may have a small snack being offered in the premises, or you may have like full meals being offered. You may have various hospitality events that are being happening out there, corporate events or weddings, etc., etc. You may have some shops out there at the historical sites which are just let's say selling the kind of books or the historical books, as the case may be. You may have shops that are selling some of the toys, greeting cards, clothing, having some kind of a charity logo per se. They're very common these days. That is also something that is possible. You may have an off-site or an online sale. That is also possible, right? Many of these charities are now selling things online. That's again something possible. In addition to, of course, running shops that they have been doing any which ways in the premises. If I really talk about the expenditure, very important, guys. Revenue side, we all somewhere understand that these are kind of revenue that the organization might have. Now coming on to the expense side of it. On the expense side of it, we all have, let's say, site operating cost. managing the site is just not easy. We all understand that, right? These sites are huge in terms of their sizes. They're pretty old, considering we are into 300-year-old, I would say, structural buildings. So you can imagine the kind of deterioration that would have happened or that would be happening over a period of time. So how scientifically we have to really do things, and of course manage things. What kind of things that we really need to do from the technology perspective in terms of ensuring that nothing is getting deteriorated. For example, I don't know if somebody from you have gone to Taj Mahal in the recent era. You would find that there are many changes that keep happening in terms of how you enter the Taj Mahal, and whether it is having a cover on your shoes, whether it is can you touch some places, can you not touch some places, can you go at in some of the places or not, and so on and so forth, because these things keeps changing depending upon the need of the hour, depending upon what they're observing over a period of time as a deterioration being happening onto the Taj, and so on and so forth. Very important that we are not missing on to that. All right, we have the site maintenance and the conservation cost. Maintenance needs vary based on the site's age and the condition. We all know that, but this is also something that we are aware that we are dealing with 300 plus year old buildings, so our cost is gonna be high. Regular maintenance is being carried out. Regular maintenance cost would be there. Major one-off projects can also be handled by outside contractors. That's again something. When it comes to the outside contractors, then the procure to pay process of course should get into a picture. That do we have the strong controls over P2P? The procurement is ensuring that they have the 3 bids, and the bid is being given, or the contract is being given to the lowest bid provider. Is the process is under the strong internal control? Those are the things that should start getting onto your mind. All right, then you have charities incur costs for conserving historical objects at their sites requiring specialist treatment. Of course, as I said, some scientific or technological treatments would be needed onto those sites. Very important that they are being taken care.
Sorry to disturb.
Yeah.
Due to the technology and repairs, can there be a disadvantage because people might say they're losing the historical value because of क्योंकि हम नया काम कर रहे हैं, टेक्नोलॉजी डेवलप कर रहे हैं, कुछ लोग बोलेंगे कि अब पहले जैसी जो हिस्टोरिकल वैल्यू थी उसकी अब वैसी नहीं रही अब.
हो भी सकता है संजना. I'm not saying it is possible, but if it is done for a reason, let's say you are deploying technology to understand how the marble of a Taj Mahal is being depleted over last 10 years, and how it is going to be getting depleted for another 50 years of time. Now, while you're implementing a technological solution to it, but there is a reason why you're doing it, because you want to preserve Taj forever. So people might understand it, some people might not, but you have to do it for the all rightful reasons.
Okay. And when you basically also have an outside contract, so if ethical issues or really if they have bad reputation, that can also reflect on us?
Yes, because you have to have the strong internal control to check on that. And that is again, I don't know if a risk question comes your way, but this is one of the risks that you have to manage the contractors, subcontractors, the technological, the specialists in terms of managing that. So this is the risk that you have. Now, the counter way to do that is that if this is the risk that you have, what can you do in terms of improving? You may have to have strong internal controls. You may have to have the segregation of duty. You may have to have the bidding process being scrutinized. You may have to have strong internal control checks and balances, and so on and so forth. So all those things should start getting onto your mind.
Okay, thank you so much, sir.
Yeah. Then comes the administration cost. That is the cost that is being incurred by charities. Now, that cost that is being incurred by charities can be different kind of costs. We have fundraising and marketing expenses that you have to incur in case you want to raise the funds. That's one. You may have salaries to be given to the executive management or the head office staff. That's very common. One important point that was being given in the preceding material that I have really highlighted out here is that charity may face bad publicity and reduce support if administration cost is perceived to be too high. So we have to ensure that our administration cost is duly taken care. It is not that much high. It is It is to ensure that you probably have the full hang of it, and you only pay what is required, and so on and so forth. Moving on to the kind of challenges that charities have. Let's see that. The principal challenges faced by the charities: deterioration of the sites and objects due to various factors like passage of time, natural condition, high humidity, pollution and violent weather, okay, accelerated by climate change, wear and tear from the high visitor traffic, very common. And all of these areas, right, this we somewhere really can correlate, right? And the reason I give you the example of Taj Mahal is only because everything that is written out here is happening to Taj. It is being deteriorated with the passage of time. Natural conditions are in the heat, the humidity is really spoiling that. The pollution is really turning out white into the grey, and so on and so forth. The wear and tear from the high visitor traffic is again a problem. The more visitor comes, the more depletion happens. Problem, but it is what it is. We have to deal with it. We have to live with it. Volunteers recruitment is a challenge for larger charities, as they depend on unpaid volunteers who may have inconsistent hours or stop volunteering suddenly. Of course, volunteers are always a problem. Freebies is always a problem. You never know when it stops. When you never know when I say, no, I am not in the obligation of doing anything, hence I'm not doing. Very common. Then what? You have to deal with it. Competition for donation from non-heritage charities, as potential donors are approached by many organizations. We spoke on that. Guys, you are being approached by HP to contribute to Taj Mahal, and then you are being approached by XYZ to contribute for a cancer cause. You have to choose which one your money will go. Big time impact. Charities in the news may raise large sums, but then it can reduce donation to the other charities. Of course, if somebody is coming more in news, they will get more funds. You may not have if you're not in news. Economic recession in Indonesia has led to fall in donation for many charities. So they're actually saying that there is a recession in Indonesia. So we are any which ways in a state of problem, that the recession itself is hitting us. So what is going to be our future? God knows. Then they have given, my friends, certain key performance indicators out here, that you should be keeping in mind. And I'm sure many of you, when you would read this, these are like very generic ones. For example, you have the financial indicators of income. You have membership fees, donations, site admission fees, income from commercial activities. These all are like the key performance indicators in terms of how you're doing, how good you're doing. Income generated per visitor from the shops and the catering activities, how good you're doing. Is it increasing? Is it not increasing? Expenditure, site operating cost, increasing, not increasing. Site maintenance cost, administration expenses, how much they are, more, less. Employees cost, is it like increasing, decreasing? What is my operating margin? And of course, what is my surplus of income over expenditure? Is it something I'm really having a close contact on? Very important. There are some non-financial indicators that I should be aware of. That can be how many number of members I have, donors I have, how many volunteers I have, how many visitors to the sites I have. How am I really capturing it? Am I really having a note of it? Am I really trying to address any kind of gaps that are being observed? Education and the development, number of educational visits to the sites, in terms of how many schools I am able to bring in, the training days of the staffs and volunteers, the trainees that I have employed, very important. Conversational or the preservation side of it, number of hours spent on the conservation, is it being captured? Am I really looking onto it? Objects that I have worked on, maintenance projects that I have completed or in pipeline, very important. Satisfaction, what is the feedback from the members? What is the feedback from the visitors? What is the I would say feedback from the employees or the volunteers? What is the feedback that is coming at large from the people? What is the percentage of annual members who are renewing my fees? Because they will only renew if they're satisfied. How is this being captured? On the environmental side, again, we discussed last day on the responsible leadership. This is again very important, that how much resource I have consumed it, how much percentage of energy obtained from renewable sources I have used, waste and recycling rates, how is that being controlled? Emissions, if any, how is that being managed, and so on and so forth. All of these are going to be the key performance indicators that you may have to use in some way or the other if there is anything in relation to risk or future or any kind of issue that is being discussed in the exam. This slide, the key performance indicator slide, has to be used and of course discussed at length whenever any issue in this regard really gets into the picture. Is that something clear? Yes, sir. Moving on to the historic places. Moving on to now the company, my friend. Company which is there in the question. So by now what we have covered, my friend, is the discussion that we needed to have with reference to the industry at large, charity at large. Now what we'll be discussing is the discussion on the historic places. Historic places, the company that is there in the question. Should we take a break of 5 minutes and then start? Maybe I'll give you some, I'll have some rest of, for my throat, and then we'll pick it up. Let's take a break of 5 minutes and then we'll kickstart. Ravi, 5 minutes break?
Yeah, fine.
All right.
Belki zorundadır.
Anne dur ne?
Can we take one more shot? Sorry, I just couldn't get the handle. What? This side? No, from the outside. First, grab the code from this. Should we keep the dark? Just put the light on this. पकड़े रखना तो पता है क्या
No.
So that is not. Oh. Okay. 3, 2, 1, go. Como next to nothing. Don't look at the cameras. Start thinking.
It's still recording.
No.
Speaker on ना तुम बोल रहे थे सुनाई दे रहा था
okay.
Can I start now?
Yeah, you should.
Start करना है मैंने. All right, guys. Back, everyone. Rahul, Fatima, everyone back? Ravi. Alright, good, thank you. Let's just move on, guys. Move on to what we have in relation to the company that was there in the question, that is historical places. Let's see as to what we have. Now we're talking about, we've done the industry in terms of, you know, what the charitable industry in, of course, the country is all gonna be. Now we're talking about HP as an organization. HP is a large heritage charity founded 120 years ago. Okay, it's quite an old one. HP manages around 350 sites. Oh man, 350 sites. Okay, all 300-year-old. Okay, mostly castles or museums. Do not forget that, castles or museum. HP do not manage sites with religious connections. Okay, no temple, no gurdwara, no mosques, nothing. They're only managing the castles or museums. Okay. HP operates as company limited by guarantee. We now understand that. Senior management and most administration staff are based at head office in Asia capital. HP's commercial activities are managed by wholly owned subsidiary. I'm just trying to consume things out. Yes, sir, we're getting that, sir. We're trying to understand that, sir. We are really reaching there. All right. Now coming on to the mission and the values of the company. HP's mission is to protect, preserves sites permanently while promoting interest and the access to them. HP's values include historical truth, accessibility, enjoyment, involvement, transparency, inclusivity, diversity, and social and environmental responsibility and stewardship. This is what my missions and the values have. Do not forget, guys, that these mission or the values you have to use somewhere, come what may in the exam. Examiner should understand that you have understood the mission of the organization and you're correlating that mission to the answers that you're giving out there. If there is something wherein you can highlight the mission or the idea behind the psychology of this organization, you should be able to call out these values. You should be able to call out these mission areas to make sure that organization, from the examination perspective, your examiner really understand that these mission statements are in your blood. Very important that we are able to demonstrate that fact in the exam. Is that clear? Yes, sir. Moving on, governance side of it. Okay, now we're talking about the HP's governance. It is two-tiered structure consisting of what? You have board of trustees over there, and trustees do what? They have the overall control. They are the management and the strategy development people. Okay, then you have the board of executive directors. They are the ones who manages the day-to-day operations. Okay, now board of trustees includes 9 members. Okay, so you have 9 members. I have to see the governance aspect. Okay, you have a chair, the chair of the board or the chair of the trustee, who's appointed by the trustees without a fixed term and not voted on by members. So effectively trustees are selecting them. Okay, I have to see how trustees are getting selected. Let's go and check that out. Nominated trustees. 5 trustees are nominated by nomination committee. Okay, so there is an independence element. It is fine. Confirmed by members and serve for 3 years with reappointment possible. Member elected trustees. So you have 5 coming from nomination committee, 3 coming from the members at the AGM. So members select that, serving for 3 years with re-election possible. So from the selection perspective, there is I would say due emphasis on the independence. 5 of them are being elected by the nomination committee, which is good. 3 of them again are being elected through the members, which is again a voting that they would be doing, which is again good. So there is no selection issue as such when it comes to the trustee, the way we read this. Okay, then you have the committees within the board of directors. You have audit committee, you have nomination committee, and the remuneration committee. So there are 3 separate committees. Okay, so so far there is no issue that is being observed. These committees have to be there, and they are there. Executive directors appointment by the board of trustees based on the nomination committee advice. Okay, HP's member do not vote on their appointment. So executive director is being appointed by the board of trustees, and for that nomination is being done by the nomination committee. The members do not have any role to play over there, which is absolutely fine. It looks very I would say okay in terms of how they are being structured. The executive board is led by CEO, responsible for daily management operations. Remuneration of the executive board members is set up by the remuneration committee. So everything as of now, the way I read it, it is seemingly in control in terms of the way it should be. If I really talk on the executive board structure, they have given the executive board structure out here. You have the chief executive officer, you have the operations director, finance director, marketing director, HR director, and IT director to manage the show, which is seemingly a right way of doing it. Then you have the code of conduct of HP. Let's see what that is. HP has a code of conduct which trustees or executive directors and other paid employees and volunteers are expected to follow. So they have the code of conduct, which is important. The code includes principles related to the professional behavior, commitment, adherence to the decisions made by the board, confidentiality, conflicts and interest and bribery. Do not forget, my friend, if there is something in relation to the code of conduct really comes into the exam, you should have that in your head, that there is a code of conduct of this organization that really talks about these areas, and we have to refer back to make sure that is it in compliance with the code of conduct of an organization or not. Do not forget that. All right, acquisition of site. HP acquires the building and other site as a gift from the previous owners or by purchasing them through the HP's surplus fund. It can, of course, it can happen either ways, but if it is being purchased from my own funds, then I have to see, how much funding I have, how much money I have, how much cash rich I have, how much money I would need to manage that, and so on and so forth. HP will only acquire sites which are of national importance and are under the threat of destruction or deterioration over time. Now, this is something that is there with you. So if there is something, in the question that really comes your way, when there is a site that is being discussed which is not of national importance, you can straight away say no, because that's not what our constitution really says, that this is not something that we would be doing. We'll be only acquiring the sites which are of national importance and they're under the threat or of any kind of destruction or deterioration happening over a period of time. Do not forget that. All of these pointers have to be at the back of your mind, my friend, and then we build on the exhibits that you get to see in the exam. But these are really important pointers. That is the reason, my friend, I've specifically prepared this PPT for you so that you're not missing on these points, come what may. And do not forget, guys, that you would be getting this PPT with you, and of course this will be shared with you so that you can refer that as many times as possible. Do not miss on that. All right, coming on to the operational activities. HP sites are open for both members and non-members. Of course, members are paying like annual fee to me. Non-members are paying the entrance fee. Okay. Non-members must pay an admission charge. Okay. Opening times vary by site, influenced by factors such as maintenance and the staffing level. HP aims to enhance the visitor experience by providing guides for tours and answering questions, offering on-site information and exhibitions, stimulating interest, encouraging children to spot features or objects. So there are different ways they are trying to get more traction towards these monuments. HP's education goal include hosting school visits and explaining the significance of these sites. Important. Site hosts special events such as historical performances of children and families. Shops and catering facilities are also available. Shop size determines the range of items to be sold. Smaller sites are used for snacks and drinks. Larger sites are being used for providing the full meals. HP's best known sites, they have mentioned 5 sites out here: Mallock, Dogene, Birmingham, Stowater, and Thruworth is something that they have mentioned as the well-known sites or the best known sites of HP. That's what is being given in the pre-seen material. If I really talk on the from the stakeholders perspective, that some of the detailing about the stakeholders has been given. HP has approximately 5 million members. Huge, my friend, in terms of membership that they have, which effectively also pushes us to believe that they would have good amount of revenues in terms of the I would say the members that they have. HP offers annual membership only, which is good, right? But that can be one of the area that may get tested in the exam, wherein he wants you to increase the revenue. And one way to increase the revenue is to go on monthly basis or EMI basis. Who knows if it really comes your way, but this is something that is there. Membership benefit includes free admission to sites, regular newsletters and emails, the right to attend HP's annual general meeting, voting rights on trustees' appointment, receiving HP's annual report and financial statements, approving the appointment of auditors, the ability to submit resolutions which are considered by the trustee but not binding. All of this is something that members' benefits are. Seemingly, I have not seen any issue as such. From the stakeholders' perspective, HP employs around 4,000 people, including the full-time and part-time staff. Huge in terms of number, guys. We have to see that. Employees work at HP's head office and various sites, including commercial subsidiary. Some employees have been with HP for a long time, which is good, right? Which effectively means that people have confidence in me. HP's pays average salary for the charity sector. Now this is a negative. This is a bummer. We are paying average salary for a charity sector, which may, I don't know, but if you get to see a situation wherein you are seeing huge attrition for whatever reason, this can be a cause of it. We have to think about how can we really increase the salary, which are lower than those of commercial organization for equivalent roles. Of course, commercial se to aap kam hoge hi, but even within the charity sector, you are being average, which is not that great. Many employees accept lower salaries due to commitment to the HP's mission, which is good, but that in a way put pressures on you that you have to manage your image, you have to manage your expenses, you have to manage the way you are being operating in the best possible way. Do not undermine the importance of that. If I really talk on the volunteers, HP has around 20,000 volunteers. Imagine, my friend, they had 4,000 staff and 20,000 volunteers. So they are really dependent on volunteers. It's a big bummer, right? Volunteers can go away like this. Very important that we are somewhere ensuring that, considering these people play significant role in the organization, we are always at risk. This is a big time thing that you should have in your mind. Predominantly, volunteers act as guide, work in catering facilities, shops, and help maintain the sites. Suppliers and contractors, the choice of suppliers and the inventory policies for catering facilities and shops is determined centrally by the HP's procurement function. There is a big time responsibility on procurement function. As a strategic business leader, you have to have appropriate or rightful controls, checks and balances on the procurement function, including the segregation of duties. You have to ensure that. If I really come on further, HP uses external contractors for regular site maintenance and major projects. Contractors for large single projects are employed on a one-off basis. This can be a plus, this can be a minus also, because if you're only employing contractor on one-off basis, you may get to see a scenario wherein contractors may not want to join you. They are always looking for a recurring business. You have to ensure that you are working with a pool of contractors who you can work with for a longer period of time, and of course keep giving them the business. HP's information systems are adequate for its administration needs and fully compliant with the data protection regulation, which is good. HP's computerized information systems cover major operational functions. Okay. HP has a website which publicizes its activities and allows donation to be made and members to join. Okay, so it's an e-commerce website per se. There are separate web pages for the HP sites, each of the HP sites. So he has 350 sites, right? So effectively 350 pages in the website, including details about each site, his history, maps, facilities, and news. So there is, of course, an effort that will go in terms of managing the entire set of website in totality and so on and so forth. So but they already have it. So it is something that we really have to ensure that we are taking into consideration that this is one of the factor that company might be or must be looking forward to. Now, very important, guys, there are some risks that are being mentioned in the pre-seen material. So let's see what that is. HP maintains the risk register at his head office, covering significant charity-wide risks, including threat to the reputation. there is a threat that this organization has. Bad publicity about HP can lead to members not being willing to renew their membership. We have discussed this, that this is certainly a risk. Without even getting onto the risk register, when we were reading the question, we were able to prompt out various risks. We are Fintrammers, sir. We are not gonna be getting this easy. Of course, my friend, but this is how you should be thinking about, this is how you should be reading about the pre-seen material, that your mind should become more broad in terms of gauging the thoughts to make sure that you really have the answers in a more holistic way in the exam, and that's where we can really add value to the examiner. Alright, other threats to income. The recession in Indonesia may limit the donor's willingness to donate to HP. Visiting HP sites is one of the very many leisure activities available to the individuals and families, and the risk is that visit will become less popular, reducing the income from admissions and commercial activities. If there is a recession, we certainly have that risk. Loss of employees and volunteers, it's a big time risk, right? We may get to see a situation where an employee leaves us because we are anyway average, and volunteers are volunteers, right? They can certainly go away. Insufficient financial resources. If income is less than what is being expected, HP may not have financial resources to carry out its conservation work or buy any other facility. It's a problem. Poor performance of supplier and contractors. Poor quality goods provided by the suppliers can reduce visitor satisfaction. Poor performance by contractors can mean that HP does not obtain value for money and may jeopardize the conservation of building. Contractors have to be, I would say, work in a controlled environment to make sure that they are delivering what they are expected to deliver. All right, health and safety issues. These can affect people working and visiting sites. Sites have potential hazards, including slippery surfaces and steep staircases. Extreme weather may also create hazardous conditions at some sites. Generally, these old buildings, they're not that great in terms of safety measures, right? They're generally very old. They're built when in a very old era, wherein all of these things were not very I would say concerning for them that point in time. That is the reason many of these areas are not that great for people when it comes to the safety. So they can be hazardous. That is something that we really need to be taken care of, because if something like this happens and it gets into the media, then again it showcases on the part of HP that they are not duly taking care of the facility at large. Climate and weather. Poor weather can affect visitors numbers at the site, where visitors are wholly or mostly in outdoor. That really plays around a big time. Extreme weather such as excessive heat can of course damage the sites. We have discussed that. Who doesn't know Taj for that matter? Then you also have a cyber security risks out here. While we discussed all the good things, but HP's computer system might face the risk of disruption, jeopardizing the administration and the other services which it provides. Leakage of the data about members and donors could result in a legal action. Do not forget the importance of GDPR, or the kind of protection law, the information protection laws that you are exposed to. Loss of reputation and unwillingness of members and donors to provide their personal details is also the big one that you really need, because you have to ensure that your donors are not every donor wants to have their name in public. So you have to have the mechanism by which you are able to secure the information that you have for the donor, for the donee, and as the case may be. Now, some of the extracts that are being given in your pre-seen material that really covers the action which HP takes, and there's something we should certainly have at the back of our mind. They say that HP works to inspire. They want to inspire everyone who visit us in the imaginative and authentic ways, which is a good one. They aim to simulate the visitor's mind and provoke their emotions. That's what they really aspire to do. They want to provide access to the country's history, enriching everyone lives. We want our visitors to have privilege of standing on the spot where history happened and to live our country's story. So that's the aim that they really look forward to. They want to engage and entertain. They want everyone who visits us to love the time they spend with us. We engage our visitors by bringing fascinating true stories of our sites to life. So that's what they really look forward to. Involve millions shares our belief that history is important for everyone, and we want to provide opportunities for them to engage with us. We rely on generous support from our members, donors, and volunteers, and we want them to build the relationship with them. They want to conserve the sites which urgently need their care, looking after for the benefit of the present and future generations. In the central to everything which we do, we aim to preserve and develop our collection, increasing an understanding through expert research. So they're very much open for going scientific, having an expert support to make sure that they're able to deliver. From the sustainability side, they want to protect the future of our sites by being part of the worldwide fight against climate change. We limit our impact by using the greener energy, minimizing the waste, and increasing our use of recycled resources as much as possible. This is what they really aspire for, and this is more like, giving you a sense that, what is this company really looking forward to, what they're really looking into in terms of, delivering. And whenever we're writing an answer, we should have this at the back of our mind that we really want to do all of these good things, and if there is something that is not happening, it's not really aligning to the mission statement or the KPIs that we really have. Very important, guys, that this is something that should really instill in your mind that this is what organization wants to be known for. Then they have given you some financial and non-financial information. If you really go through this, you would see income has been steadily increasing, but if I really see from 2002 to 2003, there is a dip there, which is not that great. While we see huge revenue coming from membership and of course donation, the shop revenue is also really good. So that can be an opportunity to really increase. Why the income is not that increasing can be a function of recession also, but that's again something to be understood. Number of visitors, on the other hand, is also slowed down. Number of members have also slowed down. So number of members slowing down is not that great. We have to find a reason for it in terms of why it is being declining and why it is the way it is. The operating expenses, on the other hand, are increasing. They are not on the declining side. They are not aligning with the revenue. So that's again an alarming thing. We probably have to see through in terms of why it is the way it is. Site operating expenses is the maximum, and of course then the maintenance and then the amortization, so administration. So important, guys, that we have the these things being I would say consumed in our mind and thoughts, and then we hit the exhibits that are there in terms of handling that in the exam. That's pretty much, guys, that was there in your pre-scene material. I just wanted to take you through all of the details and give you my 2 cents on various pointers that we just spoke, just to make sure that you really have a hang of as to how the pre-scene material really looks like. Happy to answer any question, guys, anyone may have, anything that really comes to your mind.
Sir, it's given that it's a 2-tier board. Okay, that's
Yes.
how we're doing it. Now I'm thinking purely from an agency perspective, the agency question. See, in a non-profit, it's simple. I mean, the shareholders are the principal and the management, the directors, they would be the agents. In this case, would it be the board and the managing people, or would it be the charity supervisory board that would be the
Board and the managing people. Board and the executive management people.
they would be the principals?
Board would be the principal,
Ah.
and your executive management would be your agent per se.
Sir, wouldn't be the donors be the principal and the board and the trustees be the agents
So-
in the case of
so-
charity?
Okay, so Rohit, we are mixing two things out here. So what Ravi was asking was that who would be at the lead and who would be implementing what is being said. the lead would be the trustees, the board of trustees. They would take the lead, they would define the strategy, and then of course, the entire delivery would happen from the executive side of it. But when it comes to, the agency relationship, irrespective of which organization you are, the donor and donee relationship stays to be the same. What you just mentioned stays to be the same, absolutely same.
Okay. So the strategy definition and the objective setting would be through the trustees.
Yes, absolutely. Donor can't do that, right? Donor will only believe on the overall theme that you have for an organization, and then they have given. Now it is upon the trustees to ensure that donor's objective is being met.
And not even the guarantors, because everything is backed.
Guarantors have no role to play. They have categorically mentioned this, Rohit. Categorically mentioned this.
One more thing, I don't know if the thought process is the right side. In this we have got large number of staff, both paid and unpaid. Okay. Pure in terms of the stakeholders, key stakeholders, and if you look at the power and the how much effort they have, would we say that these employees would also have high power? Just because of the quantum. I mean, it's just in that context.
Answer is no. And you probably have to define what you mean by power.
Yeah.
If
that's exactly it.
if the power is to dominate a company, answer is no. But if the power is to ask for the right things to happen for them, answer is absolutely yes, because without them company cannot operate.
Yes.
But as far as the overall management of an organization is concerned, they are the employees, right? Beyond a point, employees will be employees.
Fair point.
Any other doubt, anyone? Sanjana, Rahul, Rohit, Renuka, Komal, Fatima, anything that comes to your mind, guys? Guys, be open, right? This is your time. Be open.
Sir,
Yeah?
you know about the taxation? It says that because of charity they don't have tax, right?
Yes.
But they also have a commercial side as well, which is subsidy, 100%. Wouldn't that be taxable?
Nope. Till the time it is for commercial purpose. Nope.
Okay.
Fatima, Komal, Rahul, Rohit, Renuka, all good?
Sir, in the context which is given, we don't see a lot of things about services and the products on offer. So the things like ANSOF and PCG, so these things I think they do not fit into the scenario someplace.
It depends, na Rohit, what exhibit you would get in the exam. I don't know what you would get. Who knows
Yeah,
if he
obvious.
who knows if he pushes you beta in a situation wherein he gives you that HP is contemplating a proposal of launching a fresh set of services which are like 1, 2, 3, 4, and this is what they're expecting as a revenue, this is what they're expecting as a cost, as an investment. You decide what is to be done. Who knows, the BCG metrics will come into play, NSOF will come into play. So it is very difficult to say better right now. The only thing that you need to see, the only thing that I want to build today is that I want to get various thoughts in your mind when it comes to the pre-scene material. Now when you will go back now, Rohit, and you will read this pre-scene material, you will have 10 more thoughts, because I have given you 10. When you will read this, 10 will become 20. And then we'll meet again. We'll meet again for a discussion on this pre-scene material very soon. Then we'll discuss few more things. Then, our strength will go multifold to handle that. But do not underestimate what model can come in the exam, because you never know what exhibit he'll give it to you. Who knows, he talks about a cyber security risks in the exam. Everything is fine, looking fine right now, but he says that some event has happened, and the entire cyber security has gone for a toss. Media is on your head. And there is a bad mouthing happening. Now, what do we do? Who knows, what will come in over there. He can play around on any of the areas, right? He may come across that, you have a foreign money coming in now. Foreign investors wants to invest in you. So, who knows if something like this comes up, right? This exam is such a broad exam that they can take you anywhere they want. With me, Rohit?
Yeah, absolutely, sir.
Yeah, Sanjana, go ahead.
In terms of the key stakeholders, donors, the grantor, the board of trustees and management and governors, can there be और हो सकता है क्या?
दोबारा बोलो बेटा. Repeat that again.
In terms of the stakeholders, the key ones, donors हो गए, the grantor वाला हो गया, the board of trustees और management हो गया, और government शायद हो गया. और कोई key, is there any other key stakeholders that I'm missing out on here?
See, I personally feel that anybody who I touch base with would be my stakeholder. They can be school students also, their parents also, who I'm.
Would there be key?
So, sorry?
Would there be key stakeholder?
Who knows key or non-key? I'm saying they are your stakeholders, right? In the key he has already given you, but indirectly भी तो वो impact हो ही रहे हैं ना. Ultimately, अगर if you have a bad name in people at large or students at large, who will come to your premises? So it depends ना कौन की बन जाएगा अगर कोई information आ गया तो.
Okay, sir.
But as far as the list is concerned, he has already given you the key stakeholders. All I'm trying to tell you is that do not think that that is an exhaustive one. With me, Sanjana?
Yes, sir.
Fatima, Rahul, Komal, Renuka. Anything that comes to your mind before we really wrap this up, guys?
So just one small question. What would be the right approach? See, we have the PC material, right? How to approach the exam, because we have to write a lot of things. It's basically a descriptive kind of an exam, right? So, we probably expect 5 questions, 6 questions, maybe 7 questions, depending upon the marks they allocate, right? So, what would be the right approach? That we go exhibit by exhibit, or should we look at the lengthier questions first and looking at the number of marks? So, what would be the right approach? Or should we just keep it simple and just go one by one?
I will go with whatever I know the best. I have read you anyway have to read all the exhibits, and let's say after reading the exhibit, I think there will be some question wherein you would find they're like pretty simple, straightforward. I'll start answering with that.
So I read one exhibit, I answer one question. I read one exhibit.
You anyway have to read all the. You have to read all, Rohit. Rohit, you have not gone through revision boot camp or what?
I have gone through the revision boot camp, but I have not done the practice as of yet by my hand.
You should, buddy. You should. It is important. If we're just having 10-15 days, buddy, it can be a game changer for you. Can be a game changer, I'm telling you. Have you given the mock exam, Rohit? Nope. कहाँ पे रोहित? दिल्ली में रहते हो तो मैं फिर घर आ जाता हूँ पिटाई करने. कहीं और रहते हो तो फ्लाइट बुक करनी पड़ेगी.
मुश्किल हो जाएगा आना बैंकॉक से.
बैंकॉक, ओके. बैंकॉक आना तो वैसे ही मुश्किल है.
No, but I'll make it a point that I do it.
Rohit, practice, buddy. Practice.
Yeah.
Practicing couple of mocks would be very helpful. I've already given you 2 mocks. you know, we will be having one follow-up discussion on this pre-seen material very soon.
The
Do
second mock नहीं आया I think.
आपने first नहीं दिया होगा तो second नहीं आया होगा.
हाँ वही.
Oh, it follows. So second you will only get once you have submitted the first. Otherwise it will not come.
Sure sir.
So at least submit the first one, na Rohit.
Yeah, I do that sir. ASAP.
Yeah. Well, we would be having one follow-up discussion for this, maybe in, you know, in some time, and then we will discuss further on this. By that time, people who have submitted the second mock, you will get your revert, and maybe we'll get on a quick call on that. Right? All right, guys. Good. There is nothing. You know, let's just wrap this up. We will be coming back to you with some of the time. I hope these 3 days would be helpful to you guys, and you know, we certainly see a very different result for yourself in the exam, and of course you people calling me for the cup of coffee once you have cleared your exam. Look forward, guys, look forward to having my cup of coffee, and you know, let's just wrap this up, and we'll catch up again in the next session, wherein we'll have a follow-up discussion of this pre-seen material. See you then. Thank you very much. Pankaj Dhingra signing off.